Well, at first, the neighbors didn't really know who I was. So, there was a lot of who are you, explaining who I was, Franciscan, coming out here to try to help out a little bit.
Good, how are you?
I walk my kids to school, go get them, and we were walking to school one day, and here I seen him. He was dressed in his robes, and he used to be walking to the Y. He introduced us. He said, "I'm Father Bob." I said, "Well, I'm Gail." And he said, "All right, Gail, we're gonna see a lot of each other." I said, "I guess we will," and that's how it started.
Our Lady of the Angels, back in 1958, was a thriving parish, one of the largest in Chicago. The afternoon of December 1st of 1958, at the end of the school day, a fire began in the basement and it spread very rapidly. And though there were valiant efforts to save the 1,600 kids that were attending school that day, 92 students and 3 BVM sisters were killed. Left the neighborhood, the memories of that. Everyone lost either a relative or friend. People fled the city and moved into the suburbs, leaving this whole area of Chicago as a very poor, under-resourced area. When I came out here, Our Lady of the Angels needed an incredible amount of work. And knowing I was coming out here alone, I thought, this is a setup for failure. There's no way. And then I thought, well, you know what? If it's God's will, it'll work. And if it's not, it won't. As a child, the idea of priesthood, religious life, was not really in the forefront. I remember when I was a little kid, the Monsignor died, and we were at the funeral. We were right near the coffin, and the coffin was open. I was like, oh, this is really weird. The priest that was given the homily said, it was last night, I really had trouble sleeping, so I went downstairs and said a prayer at Monsignor's casket, and I thought, oh, he lives in a house, and there was a dead body on the first floor, and he was on the second floor. I was like, there's not the chance of a snowball in hell that I would ever do that. So I knew I did not want to become a diocesan priest. And, I come from a big family, so I thought, well, if I do this, I'd want to be with other people, so religious community.
We're the Franciscans of the Eucharist of Chicago. We started in 2009.
When I arrived here, there were young people who were coming to volunteer, and a few of them pulled me aside and said, I think I might have a vocation, I'm not sure.
I had called them up to say, can I come help you at all? I walked in and I noticed, gosh, this one man is here, and he's doing all of this stuff. The pantry, the food, it was out of the mission, the rectory at that time.
I had heard that he was possibly starting a new community of Franciscans in the city, but that I figured it was just for men since he was a priest. And he said, oh no, we need to have sisters too. And he invited me to come over to the mission to talk to him about my vocation. I remember Father Bob, welcome me into the building, and I remember when I crossed over the threshold that I felt like I was at home.
I said, no, we really feel called to be here. We feel at home here. We feel like this is where God wants us to be. So that's basically how it began. And we're the Franciscans of the Eucharist of Chicago because we believe that it's very important that you're able to see Jesus in the Eucharist and to see Jesus in the poor. Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Okay, good morning again, everybody. Good morning. Buenos dias. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespass. Our Lady of the Angels, pray for us.
When I was at Notre Dame, I was studying accounting. The idea of priesthood, religious life, was not really in the forefront at all. When I was a senior in college, one of the students that was in my dorm, a fellow senior, got very, very sick. He basically had spinal meningitis and died, and I was the last one to be there with him. So we were all seniors, we were all getting ready to graduate, we all had jobs, girlfriends, things of that nature. And so, you know, we had our whole lives ahead of us, and all of a sudden, boom, like that, somebody was gone. So that's when I started thinking about it a little bit. You know, there's more to life than debits and credits. That was when it started. I started thinking it's really something that is stirring inside.
These are boxed up. Ask people because it's totally ready, right? All right, good. All right. Donna, buongiorno.
This is one of the, I wouldn't say one of the worst neighborhoods in the city, but before, you know, it was like, it wasn't too much around here for what you can call the poor people, or people that didn't have much. And now, since he came, you got people coming from everywhere in the neighborhood, not just in this neighborhood, but other neighborhoods.
I ended up in Chicago because Cardinal George was concerned that there would be areas where it appeared that the church was pulling out and not taking care of the poor. And the Cardinal knew that our community, the CFRs, lived and worked with the poor and did itinerant preaching. The biggest misperception I find with neighborhoods like ours is that people are lazy and they really don't want to work to better themselves. We have in our neighborhood the highest percentage of ex-felons in the United States. And if you have a felony offense, you can't get a job. Even sweeping the floors in a school, no way. There's very little opportunity for those type of people, but constantly what people say to me is, Father, I really don't want things. I want a job. I came out here, I started meeting with people. I started meeting with people in the neighborhood, just walking in the neighborhood, talking to people that work out here.
There are a lot of gangs and drugs, especially on this block. My mother always said it starts at home. And I really think that, but most of them come from broken homes. This is my daughter, you can barely see her, but this is my daughter. This is the only girl, Brandy. Then this is my other son, Charles. And that's why it's so important for me to try to teach my family and my boys of what's going on. You don't have to live in that part of your life that happened to you.
Gail is one of our neighbors who lives in a building a couple of houses down from the church. I mean, to me personally, Gail is like a hero. You know, she's a person who loves in the most sometimes difficult circumstances.
In special circumstances concerning my boys, the last three are in reality my great-nephews. Their mom was killed in jail. I went from 4 children to 7 children, but I could do it. I lost my foot a year ago. I have a double-decker washer and dryer, and it came crashing down on my foot. So it set up an infection. Long story short, they had to take my foot. And like I said, there hasn't been not one time, if we needed anything, the nuns or Father Barb haven't been there for us. Sister Alicia even came to see me in the hospital when I was coming out of the anesthetic. She was sitting at the foot of my bed, and you know, when you first wake up, you'd be like, I can't be a nun sitting there, and it actually was her. And I was like, you're real? She was like, yeah, I've been here waiting for you to wake up. And she bought me flowers, everything. I mean, so there's so much I'm grateful and thankful for.
My novitiate was in Garrison, New York. It was on the Appalachian Trail. I'd like to go walk and wander. I happened to be walking, and there was a guy on the Appalachian Trail, so we just started talking, and he said, "Oh, what are you?" I said, "I'm a Franciscan." He goes, "I don't know what that is." So I said, "You know, why don't you come on in? Do you want something to drink?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, that'd be great." And so I was coming up with a tray with some cookies and milk. One of the older priests said, "Oh, what are you doing?" I said, "You're not supposed to be doing that." So I gave him the tray. I was livid because I thought, I can't even do some kind act. And so that's when I was ready to leave. I'm gonna walk to the train station, take the train back to the city, and then we're done. That young man was walking toward the Bear Mountain Bridge to jump off and commit suicide. And I had no idea. No idea. The priest that got the tray happened to have had a doctorate in psychology. God had to show me, you're not going to always know why I do what I do. Just trust, and that's it.
Half the Little Sisters of the Poor on this side, half on that side. The rest of us are going to be serving the drinks, hot and cold.
We feed sometimes 500 people in one day. Everything is beautiful, tablecloths, centerpieces. So it's to make everybody feel good about where they're at and what they're doing. You know, I've been to places where we're just kind of slopping some food on a plate and people are eating, but here it's like a home for people, and all that food back there is homemade.
No, it's great. Okay, great. So we chopped 150 pounds of potatoes this morning.
The greatest service in the ministry is community. So all of the people in the neighborhood get to know each other a little bit. When the seniors come, they're all sitting together, they're sharing. They did a potluck dinner the other day. So I think it brings some stability and community to the patrons here. Once I found this, obviously it felt like home. Since I grew up here, I was a Girl Scout in this basement. And this has kind of been home for me then.
And like approximately 7 pairs, don't worry about too much. Who does not have a Jackson bar? You right here, the side of your head, and then blue. Oh, here.
Mission Our Lady of the Angels has brought people in from the suburbs. And so when kids are doing their service outreach projects and stuff, they get brought down here and they see that, you know, you live in this really 1% of 1% in the world. And this is a completely different world. And it's literally only, 3 miles away from your house. And you could learn a lot by, meeting somebody that might be materially poor, but has a much better relationship with God.
Helping teenagers meet their neighbor, so you guys can help with that experience.
We have things to learn from people, and it's not just, I'm handing you something. It's more of, I'm in relationship with you. And, how can we learn and live together?
It used to be really bad, a lot of shooting, and things change. Father Bob gives community dinners 2 or 3 times a month, and we come to that. So that, I think a lot of people in the community is hearing about it, and they're coming, and that makes it much better.
Rejoice in the Lord always. I say it again, rejoice. As people who believe in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, We should be striving to be instruments of peace and instruments of God to unify all people, not divide, and to make sure that everyone is taken care of. Welcome. With the seniors down here. Good morning, good, happy Thanksgiving.
Well, since I've been coming here, it just strengthened me. And I like being around everyone here at the food pantry.
And I love all of them. And it's like a family to me.
We got a lot of hungry people in this block. And they can come here and get help. So that's why I think it's good for the neighborhood.
Nothing I can say, nothing bad about him. I'm just glad that God sent him over here, because when he came over here, it was rough. It was rough. Wasn't nobody but him and the dog, and now it's him and us.
Is it good? It's good. Okay. Thank you for coming. What happened?
Father Bob and the nuns helped them see that there's more. You know, just because we live in Humboldt Park doesn't mean everyone forgets about us. Death takes a lot from you. You know, it takes your courage, your spirit, it takes everything. I lost a lot of family members. I lost nephews to the street violence recently as last year. And it's a lot for you to carry around in your heart. But he always say, you know, you can't be like that. There's always another day. And there's another chance for you to be a better person. And I had to believe that. Because if I didn't, I would have kept, the only other solution was to carry the hate. I don't want that. I don't want my sons to grow up with that.
Whether or not he wants to admit it, he's touched literally countless lives. Because it's not just our lives or the people in this neighborhood, but all the people that those people then went on to touch. So we don't know the impact of our yes, and we're just kind of setting the stage for people to encounter Christ.
Amanda's gonna help you just get down the
What Father Bob did is honestly resurrect, from the fire. He resurrected this parish, this community.
I come to this church every year, and they've always blessed me with the shoe, these coats, these shoes. I got it from this church. This church has blessed my whole family, and I appreciate that. I really do.
At the very beginning of my life here at Our Lady of the Angels, it seemed impossible. And I thought, if he brought me here to make a fool of me, if that's going to serve his purposes, then that's fine. If he brought me here to do his will, then he'll get the job done. Now, let me put it a different way. What would it be like if I died? And there I am before the judgment seat of God, and I'm seeing a video of Kelly Hall, which was unusable, filled with people having a nice meal. Saw a parking lot filled with people receiving food. Saw a church filled with people praying. And I would say to St. Peter, could you please put the tape in of my life? And he would say, that is the tape of your life. That's what you said no to that God wanted. That's something that I always have in my mind of, don't say no to God. Say yes and let God work. Sometimes when we say yes, we have no idea what God has up his sleeve. The fact that he picked me, of all people, to come out here, I'm just like the average schmuck. And so, you know what I mean? So, what does this all mean? What it means is that he does his work.